everyone, my name is Joanna and today I wanted to do a video on synchronicity. This is going to be the third video on the topic, and today's focus is really going to be about the term surrender. It's a concept really closely associated with synchronicity. You'll hear it a lot, you'll read about it a lot, and I just wanted to break it down in a way that might be more helpful for you to learn how to manage that process and really kind of incorporate it in your practice of synchronicity. So I find that surrender is probably, from my observation, one of the hardest aspects of synchronicity. It's really difficult for our brains and our way of being to understand the concept of just kind of letting go. There's a really strong need to be in control and to manage things, and something that I see that pops up in a lot of things, but with synchronicity is really important. So one of the best analogies I've heard in relation to surrender was one related to life being a stream or a river, I should say, and we're in a boat and we spend a lot of life paddling up against the current. So it's hard. We can spend a lot of energy and go nowhere. And so synchronicity and the concept of surrender is really in allowing for letting go of the oars. It's just giving up the need to be in charge, giving up the need to manage the process. And we do that by letting go of expectations. And when I say expectations, I'm really referring to the belief systems around how things manifest, how we can acquire things like money, and other beliefs that tend to just sort of disrupt the process of synchronicity, because we end up formulating really strict belief systems around how things manifest, and just sort of the rules around them as things that we've learned through time. So an example is money, and there's, especially in the state of Minnesota, there's like a really strong sense of, the more you work, the more you earn. So these type of belief systems can actually complicate synchronicity, especially when someone is trying to magnetize wealth or money to them. These do pop up and can create almost interference to the thing that you're trying to draw, because you're feeding almost an opposite side of synchronicity, which is the doubt and disbelief, and it can really have a negative impact on your practice, but on how you feel when you are trying to implement synchronicity. So in one of my prior videos, I had talked about how emotions are kind of our tuning forks with synchronicity. They really help signal to ourselves whether or not we are in alignment. If we're feeling good, if something brings us joy and excitement, then we're likely in alignment and vibrating at the level we need to be in order to receive the very things that we're magnetizing to ourselves. If we're in a low space, then we're not going to be in the frequency needed to receive the things we want. Rather, we've dropped down and lowered our frequency, and we're magnetizing the very things we don't want to ourselves. So that's why emotionality is really critical to this, but it's also really tied into surrender. So surrendering is really letting go of expectations of how the things you want, the things that you're trying to magnetize to yourself, are going to come to you. So I'm going to break down kind of the bigger ones in subsequent videos, such as like love, life purpose, and money. But just for the purpose of this video, I'm going to lightly touch on money. So when people think of wealth, they think of money. And when they think of money, they tend to think of really concrete ideas, like the amount of money that they have in their bank account, or the amount that they would like. And it tends to be really specified. So when you are practicing the art of surrender, you need to let go of that. You can have an idea of what it is ultimately you're wanting. Perhaps it is part of your desire to have a substantial amount in the bank account. But that's not what you invest your energy focusing on. It's not what resonates with you. What you want to look at is what underlies money. What's the emotionality? Is it comfort? Is it security? Is it independence? And you want to focus on that feeling. And this is where the element of trust comes in, where you focus on the feeling underlying the thing you want, and you have just faith that all related to it, so whether it be money or what have you, will manifest to you. Your higher being already knows this. You don't have to spell it out. You don't need to write it out and place an order. It's already known. And what you just want to do is focus on the emotional resonance, focus on the emotional underpinning of what you want. So again, with the case of money, maybe it's security. So you really focus on the feeling of security. You really go into like your heart chakra and you draw that up, and you really look at examples of where it already exists. Not where it doesn't or where you want more, but where it already exists. And that's what you focus your thoughts on. And when you're in that space and when you're enjoying already the sensation of that, you put out the desire for more. You do not have to specify what it looks like, and you do not want to. One, the higher self already is aware of it, and two, it has a bird's eye view of how to get the things you want to you in the fastest and easiest route possible. So you just need to give up control. You need to give up the need to figure it out, to problem solve, to come up with ideas. You just kind of progress forward, and what will happen is you'll get nudged. You'll get these little pulls or nudges to do something that in the moment you might not initially associate with like money, but as you go down that path, as you honor the nudge that you're getting, you'll start to see as things materialize before you what the true intent was. So this is where I see people get stuck and frustrated with synchronicity, because they have a pretty strong expectation of what it is they think should be happening, quote unquote should. And they block and they reject the opportunities presented to access those things. So, if someone's thinking, I want more money, they might be very specific about the fact that they think they're going to get money through more work, or that they're going to wake up and it's just going to materialize in their bank account somehow, and the numbers that they're wanting to see are just going to be there. They might not recognize that they have to make a shift themselves, and an opportunity will present, perhaps a different work opportunity, perhaps just sort of this side venture that was seemingly just for fun, that's going to actually bring forth that sense of security through money that they're desiring. So because it doesn't look like what they were expecting, they reject it, and therefore they reject what they're trying to magnetize, and then they say that it's not working. So this is where surrender can really complicate the process, and I just find that the brain is a really hard thing to learn to rein in. Again, in my prior videos, especially the one related to emotions being the tuning forks, when you can just focus on the heart center, when you can just focus on emotional resonance, it's one way to bypass that brain. It's one way to stop sort of the brain contaminating this process, and to really just put yourself on an energetic level where you need to be to receive the nudges and to receive the guidance and to receive the very things that you're wanting. But do note that it does sometimes require that you have to make a shift. I see other people sometimes get frustrated because they're wanting to manifest something, but what they're desiring, they're trying to make out of what they have currently. So let's say they're in a relationship that is really unhelpful, unhealthy, they're not happy in it, but they want that specific relationship to be the one that yields their soulmate, versus letting go of something that doesn't work for them, creating the space for a relationship that's fulfilling to enter their lives, and allowing for the soulmate or the partner to kind of enter in, but they're not open to that shift or change, and so they're really fixated on making the current relationship, which is not serving their purpose, be that thing, and it doesn't work. And of course then again there's frustration with this whole process, thinking synchronicity itself doesn't work. But again, synchronicity is not ego driven. It is really about serving your higher purpose. So that's why emotional resonance can be really helpful, is there might be an option for you that you would never consider that is more fulfilling than you could ever predict. But because you haven't or can't imagine it, if you have specific constraints or ideas of how something's going to look, you block that very thing and you block the greatest outcome for yourself. So I hope that explains it. Again, this is just video 3 in a series of me breaking down this process in a way that can be practical. I find that a lot of terms and jargon are used, and I just don't assume that people always share the same understanding of a word or actually understand the true meaning behind it. It's kind of thrown out a lot. So overall, back to the analogy of the river and the current and the being in the boat, when you surrender, essentially it's throwing down of the oars. You are just going to be sitting in the boat. You don't have to paddle, you don't have to steer, you don't have to direct. The current will do it for you, and the current is synchronicity. So you just sit back and you just allow. And although that sounds really simple, it's not, because again, our brains disrupt. There's a need for control. There's a need to try to explain and rationalize, and sometimes the brain is just unable to reconcile all that's happening, and it really causes us to kind of turn away from the things that we're asking for, because it doesn't fit our belief system. But synchronicity is not, it's not run, the motor isn't the logical brain, it's the heart resonance. So you know, just sit back, drop the oars, allow, and just watch. And again, practice with smaller things. Don't go for the bigger items that you're really invested in. Just keep continuing to practice with the smaller things. And with the larger things, just really try to stay in the place of heart resonance and just watch and just wait for the nudge. The nudges will help you figure out where you need to go. It will lead you. You don't need to sit and try to come up with a plan. You just need to wait for the nudge, and then you make a move once you get it. You just pivot, or you know, you jump, or whatever it is that's being required of you. You just do it with faith that it serves your best purpose, and then you'll receive another nudge, and it just kind of brings you along the path. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that kind of broke down that term for you. I will be doing more videos related to the concept of synchronicity and the different parts of it, just to see if spending kind of detailed time on different parts of it can be helpful for you in your practice and just cultivate understanding. So if you like this video, like it, feel free to subscribe, comment below, and I wish you the greatest of days. Bye.